Okay, so what have we got in front of you here? What have you got down around the room?
Music players.
Okay, music players. What can you tell me about them as well? Though you've got a Walkman, an old-fashioned iPod, a tape. You've got a record. You've got a reel-to-reel player. What can you tell me about them?
All different ages, different.
Okay, they're different ages, so we can say that they've evolved. Yeah, we've evolved from this reel-to-reel player, which does the same job, plays music, to iPods and iPhones. Okay. How is the evolution of this sort of thing, music players, the same or different to evolution of organisms?
It's different because evolution is more of a random process.
Good, evolution is more random, okay? It's somebody's job, isn't it, to look at this and be like, great, I like the fact that this does this, it plays good music, but it's way too heavy, so we need to make it smaller, okay? It's somebody's job to design music players, okay? Whereas evolution is random, and that's what we're going to try and demonstrate now. So this is the story of the peppered moth, okay? And the peppered moth is quite a light colour, and it lives on a very light coloured tree, okay? Demonstrated here by our floor. And if you look at the DNA on your chests, okay, that is the DNA that codes for the gene to make your colouring, okay? So you guys are a light green colour, and then we've got a black moth at the back. What's different about your DNA, Matt? Why is there black? Why are you black?
I've got an extra A in it.
Okay, so you've got one letter difference, so you're a mutation. So what's going to happen to our darker coloured moths?
They're going to get eaten.
They're going to get eaten, okay? So I'm a bird, I'm going to swoop in and eat you, off you go. And what are our pale coloured moths going to do? Going to reproduce. And when you reproduce, what do you pass on?
DNA.
Your DNA and the gene.
The gene for colour.
Good, for the colour, okay? So if you'd like to do that. Sultan, unfortunately, has made a bit of a mistake when he's copying out his code. So he reproduces and gives birth to a mutant moth. Thank you. Oh, right. If you could sit on your tree, guys. Oh. So the mutant moth, just one letter changed. He accidentally copied it out. And DNA does that sometimes when it's copying itself to pass on the genes. It accidentally makes a mistake. And that's what's happened here. So, we now have a dark coloured moth. Now what would happen to the dark coloured moth?
He'd get eaten.
He'd get eaten, and therefore, who's going to be able to pass on their genes? The dark coloured moth or the light coloured moth?
The
light coloured moth, okay? Now because of this mutation, you have not got a favourable adaptation. There's going to be survival of the fittest. Now we've got a lot more pale moths than dark moths, because the fittest adaptation is to be pale in this sense. However, what happened during Victorian times? Anyone know?
Industrial.
We can say
Industrial Revolution.
Industrial Revolution. So what happened to the trees?
Went black.
They went very black. Okay. So if you guys could just fly off for a bit, and the Industrial Revolution is going to happen. With the change in environment, our darker moth has actually got an adaptation that's actually good, and he's now the fittest, okay? So you guys are going to be eaten by a bird, and Andrew's going to be able to pass on his genes and have more dark moth babies. In you come? You guys are going. Down. And since then, we kind of cleared up our act a bit. So what do you think's happened to the colour of moths nowadays? Our trees aren't so black, they've gone back to being a pale colour. What do you think most moths are now?
Pale.
They're pale as well, okay, and that's evolution. Really clear example of evolution, well done. Okay, so the last learning objective is about cloning, okay? So say for instance that I wanted to clone Matt, what would I need to do?
Take his DNA.
I need to get his DNA. Can I take it from anywhere? Where would I get it?
Anywhere.
Okay, why can I not take it from the sperm cells?
Half.
Good, because it's only got half the DNA in it, and I want all of his DNA. I want it to be exactly the same as him. Okay, so I'm going to get a cell. I'm going to take out your DNA. Okay, out of the nucleus. What do I need to do with it now? Got his DNA. Okay, I'm going to put it into an egg. So you're going to donate to me an egg. I'm going to put all of Matt's DNA into your egg. What do I need to do before I do that though? I need to get rid of your DNA because I don't want any of you in it. I just want Matt's. I'm going to put all of Matt's DNA in your empty egg that's got none of your cells in it. Okay, now what do I need to do? Good, put it into a surrogate, okay? So you're going to do the nice job of carrying the baby and you're going to give birth to a mini Matt, okay? Now, is the baby Matt going to look exactly the same, or when it grows up to be the same age, when it's 17 years later, is it going to be exactly the same as the Matt we've got now?
It should, but it depends how it's raised.
Okay, so what might be different?
Nature and nurture.
Language and stuff.
Okay, so if you move to another country, then you might speak a different language. Anything else?
Hair, colour.
Yeah, maybe you have different, maybe if you decided to dye his hair, you might do.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
Okay? Alright, so you know how to do cloning, but what is the disadvantage of cloning? Okay, why do we have sexual reproduction and pass on our genes and evolution, and why is all that stuff better in some ways than just cloning? Matt?
Genetically.
Is it because if there was a disease and I wasn't immune to it, then the second me wouldn't be immune to it either?
Okay, good. So if we're all different, we're all, some of you might be immune to disease, some of you might not. So some will survive it, yeah, and pass on the genes. If we think back to the beginning of the lesson, to the music equipment, if we just did cloning and we didn't evolve things, what would that have meant for music?
You'd still be carrying it.
You'd still be carrying this around. I'll tell you, this is very heavy. I have to carry it in my car, okay? And we won't have improved on what we've got, okay? So cloning is great for some things, but it's really important that we still have evolution and sexual reproduction so that survival of the fittest can happen and we pass on good things and maybe the not so good things get left out.